dun, dun. Well, boys and girls, it's been a hot minute, as the kids say. Been taking a small break, but this is something special for stirring the pot. Look who we have tonight. Yeah, you, right there. This is stirring the pot with Don Kincaid, and my very special guest, the rare breed, Keith Youngblood. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, brother. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, we've known each other for a bit. I started doing this thing a little ways back. I do these little snippet things and get in your face and be a jackass at the shows. We haven't been able to connect because, hey, when Keith Youngblood is at the shows, he's a very busy guy. Now we have been able to sit down, calm everything down a little bit, and have a nice little conversation with our friend Keith Youngblood. And I cannot appreciate, because I know very busy times, very wacky world we've got going on right now. I cannot appreciate your time because, as I say, my friend, this is not my show. This is our show for the fans. So we get to know the fine talent that we see on the independent scene. And my friend, you are one of those people, and we love Keith Youngblood in the ring. So I'm sorry I'm yammering, but I'm very excited to have you on the show.
No, not yammering at all, man. I think your approach to the show is very similar to my approach to wrestling. And I said it a lot, especially going into the thing with Moff lately. Northeast Wrestling is not one person's promotion. This is our promotion. So very, very similar mindsets. I'm really excited that I finally been able to sit down with you and do this. I know we've been talking about it for a long time. So thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to do this.
Absolutely. Before we get going, I do everything, and I do mean everything that I put out on the old medias, I do on my phone. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a cool ass computer that I spent a couple G on to get this stuff going. But my friend, your background, it's beautiful. You look gorgeous tonight. I'm just going to start right off.
Wow. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is many years of accumulating and gifts from very, very gracious people in my life and saving for things. And, it's still a little scuffed here and there, but I'm building up. I'm getting to a nice setup. And yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You look beautiful. Now, I have a million questions, but there's no format to this show. That's the first thing I want to say. There is zero. There's zero format to this thing. Let me tell you.
I love it.
I don't write a damn thing down. We just kind of go off the cuff. But I have a runtime as an average of an hour. Do you got about an hour to sit with us?
Absolutely, brother. I got all night.
Oh, excellent. Don't tell me stuff like that, because I got a half of a mason jar filled with apple pie moonshine given to me by a fine friend I met at Battlefront, Lisa Thomas. She makes it special, and I get the honor and the privilege to be gifted such things. And my goodness, I'm not a drinker, Mr. Youngblood, but these stirring the pots, they get something out of me, and I crack it open, and things
we don't want to get into too much trouble. We don't want to get into
No, we don't want to do that. So I do have a lot to talk about. So let me jump right into this, because I've known you for quite some time here, and I've been in the scene for about 5 years or so, maybe six-ish. We'll push in 6. So I don't know a lot of the history behind the New England scene. I know a little bit, maybe enough to get by, if you will. But we've known each other for a few years now, maybe 3 or 4 or so, maybe even a little bit better. And one of the very first times that really sticks out in my mind, which was a banger of an event, is the very first time I ever went to XWA Center. And I know it's an odd place to start, but you really set an impression on myself and my father that I bring to the shows with me. And this night specifically was a double cage setup. There was a lot going on this night.
Yeah.
And I've shared this memory a couple times, and I've seen you actually react to these memories. And I do want to start, and again, it's probably an odd place, but that night specifically, you guys being AR, and I know this is about one Youngblood, there's a lot in your career. So I hope you don't mind me turning to this AR
Absolutely not. Let's jump around, brother. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. AR being Adrenaline Rush with one Daniel Evans, dangerous Daniel Evans, might I say. What he's doing now in the court, I hate the court, everything about the court, from the top to the bottom. That's a different story. Back to XWA. Now, that night in that double cage match was something to behold, and I wish I saved footage from back then, because all I did was take stuff and put it on and then get rid of it, and I kicked myself in the ass. It's like selling guitar equipment that you shouldn't have. So that night was long to behold, always stuck in my mind. But you guys went against a very formidable tag team called the Minutemen, and those guys are something else, let me tell you. They're not together anymore, but man, that event specifically, could you please just bring us back a little bit? Because that was shit. I don't know, 2018 maybe?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I'm very bad with dates. I get hit in the head a lot. So after a while, it starts to blur together. But yeah, a little backstory there. Daniel Evans and I had been doing the rides up to XWA, and we were doing all the throwdowns. And for the first full year of throwdowns, and then about another 6 months into the second year, I think we were there almost every week. And we had started to build up through the tag team ranks. They had just started kind of chattering about tag titles becoming a thing there. So like we were very, very involved, and the Minutemen showed up kind of out of nowhere. And Dan and I were feeling ourselves. We were feeling pretty good. And these guys showed up, and they attacked us one night after a match that had nothing to do with them. And we had no idea who these guys were, but like you said, very formidable, tough, gritty dudes. It was a fight from the start. We actually had a triple threat tag team match, not to get too off topic, with Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle and the Minutemen and Adrenaline Rush. So we had that match, but that bad blood between us and the Minutemen kind of took over. So it built and built and built, and eventually XWA made the call to throw us in a cage and let us figure it out for ourselves, because they couldn't contain what was going on anymore. They didn't want any part of it. They said, do what you guys are going to do. They tried to break Dan's hand. So there was a lot of stuff going into this match. And it was still relatively young in my career. And, now I'm in this main event cage match, and it's something you think about all the time, but you're standing behind that curtain and another minute here, I'm going to war. And it was intense.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're talking about
I
this
get it
and
too,
building
man.
it up. Because this isn't, you're not going out and just going in a standard match. This is a cage match, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you on what you were giving us. But this is a cage match. You're behind the curtain at the gorilla position, if you will, and you guys are ready to come out. The adrenaline. See what I did there? The adrenaline is kicking. There's a cage with your name written all over it against the Minutemen. What is going through your mind as Keith Youngblood, half of AR, ready to go through this curtain? Like, have you been in many cage matches before?
That was the first and only cage match I've had in my career so far.
Oh, wow. So please, I love digging this kind of stuff. What's going through Youngblood's mind at that time? Because this is not this is not a regular old match, man.
Yeah. And like, I was saying before, it's something that growing up a wrestling fan, watching wrestling your whole life, you see cage matches, you've watched them, you've seen them from the greatest and bloodiest cage matches of all time, down to, something you might've seen on Raw where two guys just went to war. But, you never really know until you're faced with it. And like I said, there was so much bad blood between us and the Minutemen. At that point, the thought of, a main event, a cage match kind of leaves. You're in your moment. You got your game face on, and these dudes are coming after me. I got to come at them the exact same way, the same energy or more, if I want to walk out of here. So at that exact moment, the buildup is a little weird, and you don't really know where you're going to be. But as soon as you get into that mental space of this is happening and I got to be on, you got to be on. So,
because again, stepping it up to adding the cage surrounding this match, it makes it, for us fans, and I know you're a fan through and through still to this day, my friend, but as fans, and I know you're gonna feel what I'm saying here, when you see on Facebook, you're scrolling through, bloop, 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 all of a sudden you see XWA cage times 2. There's 2 cage matches. For me, as a fan, that's 2 hours away from me, man. I'm not a 2-hour away drive kind of guy at that time. I called my dad as soon as I seen that, and I'm like, Dad, we got to go to this place, XWA. It's up in Rhode Island, and it's 2 hours away. It's after work, and I don't give a rat's ass. There's 2 cage matches, and we already knew of Adrenaline Rush, and I knew of Minutemen, but I really didn't see him much live, maybe once or twice, and my pop was all about it. So my point being is
Awesome.
the cage match just really, you see that visual of the cage, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta go to this match. It's just something that really boosts it up, if you will, when you're marketing for a match, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like you said, speaking as a fan, when you know that 2 guys or 2 teams have gotten so heated with each other, and that what they've done has now elevated to a point where they need to be put inside of a cage, like you're saying, man, you know, you're in for something. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be a fight. And yeah, as a fan, it's great to watch.
Absolutely. Now, you did say that was your first and only. What's going on there? Not interested? Did it take, like they say, I've heard the commentators for as long as wrestling has been around, pretty much as well, as long as I've been listening, not as long as, but anyways, they say that it takes more time off your career than expected because you're going through this brutal war within the cage. Did it take a little bit more off of your career than you ever expected? Because that's nothing to play with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll know necessarily until things start winding down. You know what I'm saying? Because like right now, I feel great, and I'm hoping and praying for a very, very long career. I don't see any other outcome for me. So knock on wood, and you know, whoever's watching over me, let that be the case. But yeah, I mean, it's rough. It's hard to explain what your body goes through in those kind of matches. And I've been in multiple ladder matches. I've been in multiple no DQ matches. And the cage was its own thing. It was something that I'm a little strange. Let's put it that way, where I like to fight, man. I like to fight. I really do. And the idea of being in the cage appealed to me, knowing that the men couldn't run, they couldn't play any tricks. It was going to be man to man. I like those odds. People might think, you know, well, Youngblood's not the biggest guy. Youngblood's not the strongest guy. You know, he might be outmatched in some. Put me in a situation where my back's against the wall. I'm going to fight my way out. So yeah, it takes a lot out of your body, and it's something that I'm sure down the line will probably have played into some issues. But so far, so good. Yes. Yeah. So far, so good. But yeah, you know, taking a Tiger Driver on an open chair and getting your head bounced off of cages, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Now, again, I know we started at an odd point, but that has been something as a fan that has totally been branded in my brain. And me and my old man, we still talk about that event specifically. And not only that, but at that time, I was part of the Sully section, and he was in the cage, and we had a blast with Sully in the cage. Not the greatest outcome for Sully, but, you know, it is what it is. You can't win them all.
Very true. Very true. And I'm glad, man, when as a performer, knowing that, you know, as a performer and as a fighter, knowing that something that, you know, I did or something that Adrenaline Rush did has sat with you and your father, who are such longtime fans and such longtime supporters, that means a lot, knowing that was a moment, you know, for you guys, for a family. That's really cool. So thank you for that.
No, please. The pleasure is all ours. And not only that, that first time that I went to XWA and went to this event, I did not stop going, Mr. Youngblood. And I'm not lying to you. I live 2 hours away, and I did not stop going to the XWA Center for all of the Thursdays, all of their big shows. So that's sometimes twice a week. And never mind going to all the other shows that I was going to between Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. I was going there for 6 months straight, nonstop, never missed a beat. I think I missed one because of a big-ass snowstorm. Other than that, never really missed a beat at the old XWA Center. But again, as a fan, it kind of took a toll on me getting out of work at 4 o'clock, getting the old man hitting the road, 2 hour drive, doing the show, 2 hour drive home. Takes a lot out of a guy, you know? So
absolutely. Hey man, you don't got to tell me about the drives and all that wearing you down, brother. I know it. I know it.
Yeah.
We appreciate fans like you who come and do it all the time to see us and support us. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Our pleasure and honor, because you guys and girls say without us, there's no you. But you always say that. And if you just hear that and echo it from the other side, my man, without you guys and girls, there's no us. So we do this dance of the fan and the entertainer, performer, athlete, combatant, warrior, you name it, however you want to be placed, because I say it all, because you guys and girls are all of those adjectives, nouns, or whatever you want to say here, because we as fans, and again, I know you're still quite a fan of wrestling, and if you weren't, I mean, you would see it in your work, and your work is very passionate, might I say. But we as fans, we just love all of these little things that pull the puzzle together. And part of that puzzle, two of them, those pieces, have the fans and the performer's relationship that goes back and forth, that I always talk about, this dance that we do. We love it as much as you guys and girls do. It's pretty much what I'm driving at.
absolutely.
And taking these memories away, and I speak about memories a lot. We as fans take away these memories, hitting the road, going back to the house and being like, wow, this part of the event and that part of the event. And we're so glad that Buff Dad got an ass whooping, or Jared Silverkite, he got thrown over the top rope by Wrecking Ball Gursky. That is beautiful footage, my friend. That is beautiful bean footage. But that's what we as fans take in and enjoy the sport and the art form of wrestling. Now, we started with the AR kind of topic, and I want to just touch upon that because I have heard multiple AR interviews throughout your tenure. I try to pay attention and stalk you guys follow you guys as much as possible. So I've heard a lot of AR, the history of, so we're not going to dive into all of that.
Sure.
But what I would like to dive into, though, is the transition, because Daniel Evans became a jackass. I would not say that to his face because I'm built like a candle. But he became a jackass. He turned on Keith Youngblood. AR, Adrenaline Rush, kind of took their own course, split ties, and went their own ways. Obviously, we see what Daniel Evans is doing in that court. Every time I have to say the court, that's going to follow.
Totally
even
fair.
if you mention, yes, absolutely. Now, my question is, you guys were a tag team for a good hot minute, as the kids say. Transitioning from tag team specialist, if you will, being Adrenaline Rush, going on your singles career and starting this off, how difficult, because we as fans don't know what it's like to go through something like this. How difficult was it to transition? Because you're not making the hot tag, my man. If you're a little bit winded, you can't get that kind of outside the ring, just a smidge break when you need it or what have you. So it's a different mindset. It's a different, now you've got to kind of maybe train a little bit. Talk to us, the fans, that transition, if you will.
Yeah, and that's a fun question and a cool question. So I'm glad you asked it. It's very, very different, and it's a lot more different than when I was a fan before I became a wrestler. Anticipated it being different, because you think about it, and yeah, okay, you're tired, you got somebody to tag, all this stuff, that's great, but wrestling's wrestling, But then when you're in the ring and you go from working in a tag team for years, getting to know that person, and your wrestling style in ring becomes one. It's not Daniel Evans and Keith Youngblood wrestling together. It's Adrenaline Rush. You start to read each other. You start to understand things without having to say it. And when you have that, you start to rely on it, whether you mean to or not. When you're doing it night in and night out for years, you're winning championships, you're going all over the place, you're rising through ranks, it starts to work. You get in your rhythm. And all of a sudden, that's gone. And you instinctively lean one way or turn one way, or you reach for that tag. There's nobody there. It's just you now. So you got to reset your brain. And like you said, definitely training a little bit different. You got to get your ring wind up a little bit because you don't have those quick tags in and out to kind of settle yourself. Or if you get rocked and you make that tag, you go to the apron and kind of check yourself, all right, shoulder's good. I'm good. Let's go back into this. Now you're doing that damage assessment in the ring while there's still a guy on you. So it's a totally different thing. But yeah, it was definitely tough at first. But I think it's worked out. So.
I love the way you put all of that, and that is going to transition us into what you currently have going on. And I know we're always going to jump. That's just what I do. I just kind of
all good, man.
I want to talk about currently what you've got going on because, like you said, I think it's working out pretty good. And let's talk. Holy shit, Keith! I just. Whenever this whole war started with the current Northeast Wrestling Champion, Danny Maff, however you want to say it, you better say it correctly because he will put you into the ground if you don't say it right. I like to say Maff. That's how I've heard it more often than not. So I would refer him as Mr. Maff because that's me, and I only weigh like $130. What in... I've been waiting to ask you this the whole interview. What is going through your flipping mind going? And I know he's got the gold, and I know that's the first intention, but it's Dan Maff. I mean, he's a monster. He's a killer. He could do very bad things to your body. Please, Mr. Youngblood, what goes through a guy's mind, an NEW mainstay, might I add, though. And then Danny Maff comes in. He takes over that gold position. You say, you know what, man? My time is now. I'm not waiting. I'm taking. My time is now. And that's exactly what you did. Me as a fan, I flip shit. Holy cow. Keith Youngblood's going against Dan Maff. I wish him on his endeavors because I think he might die. I do love you, Mr. Youngblood, but I thought your chances weren't that great. But my goodness, did you give him a run for his money? And look at the story. And that's the big picture I want to talk about. The story that you and Dan have told over the course of a little bit of time before the old Rona shut all this shit down. You guys are on absolute fire, full metal, full pedal to the metal. I'm sorry. I'm just darn excited talking about this.
I love it, man.
Whew. Please, now that I've been yammering for so much, talk to us, the fans. What the hell is going through your mind, my man?
So and you actually touched on a few points that I think almost answer your own question, where maybe you didn't even catch it. So let's backpedal and kind of take it forward from there. At Over the Top, I had the opportunity to get to win Over the Top Rumble. You get an opportunity at the heavyweight championship. I had my eyes on the heavyweight championship. I had gone through Mike Verna. I had gone through Christian Casanova. I had gone through Chris Battle. All these Northeast Wrestling mainstays in the singles division, fresh out of a tag team, and I put them all down. And I was building up this steam, and I knew Over the Top was coming. It's a tentpole event for Northeast Wrestling, and I knew that was the chance to really make a mark, really make a statement, and launch myself into the title picture. With that being the case, the current champion was AEW's Darby Allin. Mm-hmm. In my head, in my training, I'm preparing myself to go up against Darby Allin. I win Over the Top maybe half an hour, 45 minutes after I went Over the Top, and I know I'm going after Darby Allin. Dan Maff beats Darby Allin. Those are two very different opponents.
You don't say.
That you have to train for in very different ways. There is the unpredictability of Darby Allin, the death-defying, ability of Darby Allin. He's no slouch. He's a dude you got to be very aware of, and he's proven that. But Maff is an animal. He's a monster. It's a totally different kind of discussion. So once that happened, I had to flip my own script a little bit. I had to start figuring out what I was going to do because, like you said, you got to be a little off yourself to want to go after Dan Moff. But like I said before, I like fighting, and I don't mind having my back against the wall. And I think the point I tried to make that you touched on too was being a Northeast Wrestling mainstay. I grew up going to shows in 2007 as a kid, going to Northeast Wrestling events, sitting in the crowd. And I fell in love with Northeast. And it was a place that I really wanted to make a mark. And Adrenaline Rush did that multiple times. Won tag team titles with Jerry the King Lawler in Northeast Wrestling in my hometown, in the building I was watching them in as a kid. That all felt very, very full circle. But there was always that singles division. There was always that heavyweight championship. And that was something that was very, very important to me from the start. And it didn't matter if it was Darby Allin. It didn't matter if it was Dan Moff. Especially somebody like Moff who is rules with an iron fist. That Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, as long as he has it, it's all for one. I want the Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Championship to be one for all because it's our promotion. Everybody knows the Northeast Wrestling fans and I are very symbiotic. We get each other. We understand each other. I wrestle for them. And I think that the Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Championship should be represented by them. So if I have to be the guy to go to war with a silverback like Dan Moff to liberate the Heavyweight Championship, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm still in the same boat. I'm not saying you don't have better chances at this point in your career, but I'm still in the same boat. We've mentioned all sorts of words that describe Dan Moff. And I know in your heart of hearts, you've got this. We all know that. Anybody that knows Keith Youngblood, there is one thing that he's not short of, and that is heart. That is so evident. I mean, holy cow. Now there's been there's been chairs involved with you guys here going on. We've talked cage, we've talked ladder. Taking a chair, my man, that's no joke. When you're taking a chair from somebody that's maybe more in your weight class, that's no joke. But if you take if you take something from a guy like Dan Moff, how does one survive? How do you get wheeled and stretchered immediately to the medical facility, the local medical facility, if you will? I think you're off your damn rocker, my friend. And I know you want that gold, but my goodness, he's a monster. He's a monster.
He is. And I think we talked about Tiger drivers on open chairs. We talked about getting slammed into cages, thrown off of ladders, thrown through. I took a Death Valley driver through a table to a concrete floor in the Mid-Hudson Civic Center from JT Dunn. I think the 2 chair shots that Dan Moff gave me might have been worse than all of those things.
All of it.
Yeah. It was unbelievable, the amount of force that was behind those things. And I don't know how you survive it, but I'm here and I did. And I got back up and I hit him with that chair as many times as I could, as hard as I could. And at the end of that night, I was sitting in the ring. He was running. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I intend on doing it again.
The heart in a chair can do many wonders. Whether you're a big guy or not, I guess. We've seen it firsthand. The fans, we have seen that in one Keith Youngblood looking. You know, my man, you are this damn close to being that guy that you just spoke of not that long ago, of representing Northeast Wrestling as the champion for the people. You spoke about that already. I am so looking forward to when we see that day. And if it's not Dan Moff, it's going to be somebody else. But I know no matter what, no matter who it is, if Darby Allin makes a return, surprise return, becomes champion, you never know. Because Northeast Wrestling, if that's one thing they are, is full of surprises. I will say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 20 plus years in Northeast Wrestling. You look at the lineage of that championship, who's held it, who's been there, who comes in and wants to be Northeast Wrestling heavyweight champion. It's a hot commodity in the wrestling world. So anything happens at Northeast.
It is, absolutely. Now, being a Northeast Wrestling fan, going to the shows regularly at Bethany, that's kind of where they do their home shows, if you will. It holds about 250 people or so.
A little more, yeah.
Oh, okay. And there are times when it's so deafening in that building, and I know you've seen it firsthand, you've heard it firsthand. And I know as a performer, athlete, wrestler, superstar, however you want to put it, when you come out that ramp and you first hear that, I mean, Keith, right now your character is very rock star orientated. And we're going to talk about that. But when you come down that ramp in Northeast Wrestling, that crowd is on. And I want to say, not every crowd can be on 100%. But my goodness, if Northeast Wrestling isn't on like 95, 96, 97 percentile on, I'd be lying, because they're really on all the time. Coming down that ramp in Bethany and hearing that crowd, that's got to do something for you, man. I mean, for real.
Yeah, it does everything. That is everything. And I think something that that may be the answer to how I got up, if we're being completely honest with each other, because I try to send out as much energy as I can to my audience. I want them to feel what I am feeling. I want them to understand that I'm in there for them. And when you come out, especially in somewhere like Bethany, and they are singing your theme song back to you loudly, the crowd is all rocking out with you. Everybody's jamming. Everybody's having a good time. You see signs with only your name plastered from the front to the back. They are matching that energy, and they are sending it back so much, almost more. And it's just this, like you said, it's this dance. It's this cool atmospheric thing that you cannot explain, as much as I wish I could. But the best way I can put it is they were the adrenaline and adrenaline rush. You guys are what keeps Keith Youngblood running, and keeps me getting up, and keeps me fighting against monsters and animals. I would say like Dan Moff, but there's nobody like Dan Moff. So against him.
There isn't. Now, I want to stay on this topic just real quick, like before we move on to the character that you've changed over to, if you will, and introduce us to the fans. It was quite the transition too, but I don't want to get carried away here. I want to stay on the topic of the fans and signs, because there's a guy that I've met in the interim of the whole virus thing. It's changed everybody's lives. And during that time, before it started, I was doing face-to-face sit-down interviews. I would go to homes. I would go to parks, or, because not everybody wants my ugly face at their house, and I get it.
You're a handsome guy. Let's not.
Well, thank you. But in the interim, when the whole thing started, I had to find a way to make a reach to the talent, and I started doing Skype. Well, not only me, there's been so many other fans. There's been so many other athletes and workers or performers that have done the same thing alike, that have picked up doing, I guess, podcasts or something that they want to bring to the table. Now, I met a guy named Joey G. I like to call him Jackie G. I think it's a lot of fun. I effed his name up a bunch at the first time I met him, because I couldn't remember his name was Joey G. And not only that, he brings the signs, he brings the energy, he brings his crew. They are known as the Insanely Rude section over at NEW. And I've come to know Joey G and his crew. They started going to the Test of Strength shows. And they do a thing called the Stepdad Squad, which is as over the top as they are at NEW. Is as over the top as they are at Test of Strength. But my point being is, you see the fans, and then we have this virus thing happened, everything shuts down. Now things started coming back. Joey G, he starts doing a podcast. And if I'm not mistaken, because I heard it myself, you have been on Joey G's podcast. I think that's so cool, Keith, because we as fans that get to talk to you guys and girls, when we get that reaction, when we get that response of, sure, what date or what time, or let's do this, or let's rock, whatever the response is, dude, our adrenaline, no pun intended, it shoots through the roof. And I know if one thing, Joey G was so stoked to get Keith Youngblood. And he's a really good dude. And I know I'm yammering about this topic, but I just see the love that you give back to the fans. And my point being is, I thank you from every single one of us. And I don't want to speak for all of us, but we would say the same damn thing. Thank you for returning the love that we give you. Okay? I just think it's absolutely amazing that a guy like you would return that love. And it's not only you, there's many out there, but I just love to give that thanks. And I appreciate it.
I appreciate that sentiment. And like I said, man, that's what wrestling is about for me. You know, I love wrestling. I love fighting. I love being a professional wrestler, and that's what I've always wanted to do. But it is so much for the audience, because I understand what it's like to be on that other end. And I know from growing up being a wrestling fan, during times of struggle, during times of loss, of sadness, of fear, when you don't know what tomorrow might bring, and you are uncertain, having that kind of an escape, being able to look to something, to enjoy something, to get together with friends or family and create those memories that we talked about before. Mm-hmm. That's what wrestling is for me. And to be blessed enough to have the opportunity to do it at the level I am doing it at, and to continue to do it at the level that I am at, and to continue and go higher. It's everything to me to be able to give people that kind of memory and opportunity to chat and do the things they love. So it's so fulfilling, and that's what I get out of this, and that's what I love.
I call every episode a different title, and you just said the title of this. That's what wrestling does for me. And I love that. That's going to be a fantastic title. Now, let's talk about this character, because you were always known with Daniel Evans. You were Keith Youngblood. He was Daniel Evans. Together, you were Adrenaline Rush. Now, you've got to do some thinking. The creative juice has got to start flowing a little bit. What do I do as a singles competitor? Do I come out as Keith Youngblood? Everybody knows me. Of course I'm not going to change my damn name. That would be ridiculous. So we put a little tagline on the front. We say, the Rarebreed Keith Youngblood. Please talk to us about that. What is that all about? What does it represent?
Yeah, so, you know, I wish I could tell you that I sat down and I brainstormed and I wrote notebooks, and, you know, I wish I could give you some kind of huge story to it, but I never really, it's me, man. That's who I am. And I think when you saw me with Adrenaline Rush, it was still who I was. There was no real, there's not that much of a difference, as much as it may seem. I think with Adrenaline Rush, you got more of my raw adrenaline. The thrill seeker side of me was kind of what took the forefront there. With going out into singles competition, not having somebody there to support me and back me up, I had to change my in-ring style. I bulked up because I was no longer the speed and the flying half of a team. I didn't have a power guy to back me up. So I bulked up from 170, 180 on a good day to 210. Wow. You know, I put on a significant amount of muscle, and because I knew I don't have a power guy to rely on. I got to be the power guy. If I want to keep flying, I got to keep flying. And in that change to my style and my body and my diet, I thought it was very, very important to me to stay very well rounded. I didn't want to be a high flyer. I didn't want to be a power guy. I wanted to get in a ring, and no matter who my opponent was, no matter the size of them, no matter their fighting style, I could find a way to capitalize on whatever they might have a weak spot in. That's what you do as a fighter. So when I started training and changing all these things, I always contributed a background in free running to some of my body control and my athleticism in my high flying. So I didn't want to lose that, but I wanted to add the power game. And putting all of those things together, that's where Rarebreed came from.
Wow.
I'm 6'3". Now I'm 210. I still want to fly like I could when I was 170, but I want to be able to pick guys up like I'm 210 and 6'3". So that Rarebreed was, I am going to be a rare breed of professional wrestling. Ground game, I gotcha. Power game, I gotcha. High flying, I got that. So that's kind of where the name came from.
Man, that is definitely not what I was not expecting, because you just put it absolutely perfectly, because now you're more of a hybrid guy, if you will. If we had to put a label on you for a wrestler, you're more of a hybrid, because now you can adapt to different styles. But you also mentioned something there that I'm just going to pause real quick. I can't fly now at 210 like I used to at a 170 to 180. Adjusting, now you start bulking up, you start gaining some weight, you're in the ring, you're obviously changing your move set and seeing what's going to work for me to my advantage to capitalize and get those W's. What do I got to do? So again, those creative juices start flowing. What's my moveset going to be? What do I do with this? How hard was it to adjust from when you're lighter to gaining some weight? And you're like, I can do this. I've done this 1,000 times, but you go to do it, and it's just a smidge different because you've got a few more pounds on you. Did you run into some of those things?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because it was something that I wanted to make sure I didn't lose. So I anticipated having to adjust, and I knew that there were going to be some things that would have to change. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get in the ring and you do something that you've been doing for years, but you've got 20 extra pounds of muscle on you. It's, well, okay, this is different. This is very, very different. I need more into my takeoff. I need to pay way more attention to where I am in the air and how to control my body. So yeah, again, I think that free running background really helped me out a lot. And if anybody's in the Connecticut area, there's a place called Adaptive Movement Parkour. There's two guys by the name of Scott and Mike who are over there running it. They're tremendous, very safe instructors. If anybody's out there looking to be a more well-rounded athlete, they do a ton of stuff. So look into them. They help me out a lot.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, because you've seen me. I would never get in the ring. I'm not an athlete myself. My old nickname is Stick Boy, if you will. So thank you for sharing, though, because not only, I've come to find out, I always thought my dad and his dog were the only ones watching these things, but come to find out, there's a few fans, there's a few of your peers that watch and stuff. So that information that you share, that could be spread out, and you never know. You might network one of your peers to a little bit of free running over it. Now that's awesome, man, because I see some of that stuff and I'm just absolutely amazed, because it just takes so much body control. It's just off the charts body control. It just blows my mind. But maybe if I got off my lazy ass and gave it a shot and did some, I could do that stuff. But I don't.
Man, practice.
Now let's talk about this rock vibe you've brought to the table. That obviously, because they say you've already touched upon it. It's pretty much what I am, man. I'm not taking too much away from who I am, what I do in my life to bring to the table. I'm not making up this kooky character for wrestling. I'm saying basically who I am. And those make the best freaking characters in wrestling. That's for sure. But this character that you've got going on, he's a rock guy. Is there a backstory to this thing? And if not, because it just seems like Keith Youngblood's coming out with a leather jacket and having a good old time, if you will. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny because I come from a musical background. Both of my parents are musicians. Both of my brothers are musicians. So I grew up surrounded by music, in the music scene. I did a lot of stuff with my brother's band. I actually performed in kind of a last minute thrown together band with my brother at my high school for one of our talent shows.
Nice.
So we played like a Misfits tune and a couple other things, but like, yeah, man, it's just, I love music. I think music is a wonderful tool in life for healing, for motivation. Lots of my life's strongest memories can be tied to music. So it's so much of who I am, and it's such a large part of me that, again, I think that's why the Northeast Wrestling fans and fans everywhere I go connect with me so well, is because I'm just me, dude. That's all it is. And I know that you guys are spending your time and your money and your effort to come out to these shows, and you're presenting who you are. You're out there and you want to have a good time. Well, here I am. I'm here for the exact same reason. Let's vibe, let's jam, let's rock, and that's kind of where that came from. It's just, let's all get together and do something really, really cool and make something special.
That's so cool, man, because like you said, the connection. I always talk about a couple things. Going through the curtain is very difficult when you start your career because you don't know how you're going to act. You might practice stuff and all of this, but when you're coming out, you just don't know what the fans are going to do, how they're going to react. So you have to give us these vibes, these signals when you come through the curtain. Are we supposed to boo you? Are we supposed to cheer you? Keith Youngblood comes to that damn curtain, and boys and girls, there's one thing that he gives out to everybody, not only just to that arena, no matter where he is. It seeps through the walls and goes for miles down the roads. This cat's tune is playing. He's coming out. The crowd is hot. And my goodness, it is always nothing but a good time with Keith Youngblood. And it's that connection, though. You do it without even trying. And I mean, I know right now you don't have to try because you've built quite a fan base around you at this point in your career. But you're using a gimmick, if you will, that is totally connectable across all age ranges. It could be from little kids to real. I mean, I'm 50 and I'm digging everything you're doing. I still got all my equipment, and I mean, but it's not me. It surpasses the age range of 50 as well. Everybody, you really connect, and it's so hard when you can't get that niche. And we see guys and girls either be so frustrated that they want to give up and not be a wrestler and do plan B or whatever. You just seem so natural right now. You seem to have probably some of the most fun I've seen you have in your career. And the connection is just so there. And I think that's what it's really you're having fun with, because you didn't lose a beat as Keith Youngblood, and the fans are just so connected still,
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Because, you come out with a made up character, and it could be, some vampire character, and you're dressed all kook, and not taken away from guys that do vampires, but you dress all kooky and you look like a low budget sci-fi, movie at 1:00 in the morning. Some guys get lost in their gimmick and they don't know what direction to do or what have you. But you really seem to have found your niche. Can you say right now you're probably at your most comfortable point with everything you've got going on in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as time goes on, especially with something like professional wrestling, you continuously get more comfortable. For the most part. You don't want to become complacent. But in terms of confidence, I would say I'm the most confident I've ever been in my entire career. I think comfortable might be the wrong word to
Okay.
use, but
Nope.
yeah, and it's funny too because you'll do something for a while, you'll hit this point where you're like, yeah, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. I'm ready to go, and then you kind of start to think, well, why am I not doing more? Why have I not, why do I feel like maybe I'm hitting up against the ceiling here? And that's, if you ever start to feel that way, that's when tweak it up a little bit. Something's got to change. What am I missing here? And you just got to kind of play with it, man. Like I said, you got to have fun with it. And I think coming out of Adrenaline Rush, coming out of the Kings of Rock, coming out of the tag division, there was a very, very big change in my career coming. And I had to find a way to make that change work for me as opposed to against me. And I decided that being me, having fun, and kicking up my game a couple of extra notches was the way to do that. So I hit the gym really, really hard, and I kind of just picked and chose what I liked out of the things that I really love. I wanted to do the color change. Adrenaline Rush always did the blue and silver, which coincidentally matched the Northeast Wrestling Tag Team Championships. So, I went ahead and, that heavyweight championship's got some red and some gold on it. Maybe I throw that on going into the singles division. So that's where the red and gold came from. And the leopard print. I like leopard print. All my idols wear leopard print, Steven Tyler and all these guys, So yeah, man, throw some leopard print on there. Let's have some fun. So It was just kind of pick and choose, what you like and what works for you, and project that out to everybody. And like I said, hope that energy comes back, and it did.
Yeah, sevenfold, might I say, because the fans grasped right onto it. It's not like you had to warm them up to what you were doing as a singles competitor.
All right,
it was, bam, right from the first beat, my man. I mean, they didn't lose nothing. They were like, yes, look at our Keith Youngblood go. Yeah.
Amazing.
So you're doing fine. Don't change a thing. Don't fix what's not broken. You're doing excellent right now. And the steam that you have going on, whew, man, oh man, you are on fire right now as a singles competitor in Northeast Wrestling. So I cannot wait, because I'm going to talk to you about something right now, because I know you've seen a lot of names in our area. And I'm just going to speak of a couple. You've already mentioned one, Christian Casanova. We've got, the LAX, the Ortiz, and such. And many, many names. We could sit here all night and name the names that we've seen over the course of probably the past year or two that have been picked up in our industry, in our area from the industry, getting on that bigger platform. And I want to speak upon that topic, because not every single wrestler wants to go to the big dub or the AEW or the New Japans or the ROHs. Maybe they have families. Maybe they're comfortable with what they're doing on the independent scene for whatever reasons. Where is Keith Youngblood in that position right there? Because I'm just going to say it before you answer. I could see you on TV easily, hands down, the way we're seeing some of our friends being signed here. Is that your direction, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. And Northeast specifically has such a large platform and such a good relationship where you see all of these other guys who, from a bigger stage, a television stage, coming to Northeast Wrestling. So Northeast is definitely a very large stage that I am blessed to be a part of, and I work very, very hard to be the guy there. And yeah, I think, like we talked about before, making those memories for other people, being there, and that kind of escape or whatever you want to call it is very important to me. And the bigger the stage and the brighter the spotlight, the more people are going to see that, the more people that you have that chance to be that person for. So yeah, I want to take wrestling as far as I possibly can. It's been the goal, it's been the dream, and it's something that will be the reality. And I will make damn sure of that. So yeah, man, onward, upward, forward, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do it.
What I like to do when I have the talents on here, because again, most of them do want to get to that higher plateau, if you will. Do you have a choice? If you could have a choice of the dub or New Japan or ROH, where would you feel comfortable getting on that stage?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a twofold answer. And I think I kind of give this answer generally when I'm asked this, but it's kind of hard to explain. So I think you got to do what's right for your family, right? So first and foremost, you want to take care of your people. So if there is a call that comes and it is the right move to make, that is the move I will make. You need to take care of you and your own and get to a point where you can help other people too. So that's a very, very big part of it. If that is not an issue, if it's kind of here you go, pick and choose. At this exact moment, New Japan is a major goal for me. It's something I've thought about for a very, very long time. There is a lot of influential Japanese wrestlers who have played a very significant role in my career as a fan and as influences. Guys like Jushin Liger and Tanahashi and Naito. These are guys who have been very influential to me, and I would love to get there and maybe be able to do something with these guys before they wind down. But yeah, it's just New Japan's definitely on the radar. And I also love the collaborative aspect. New Japan is doing things with AEW. AEW is doing things with New Japan. Impact Wrestling is getting in with AEW and with New Japan. And I think the idea of that open-mindedness, of that collaboration, it's a benefit to everyone. It's a benefit to the fans. It's a benefit to the wrestlers. I love that. And I really have enjoyed what AEW has done. I think they've handled the pandemic situation very excellently in terms of the way they've produced their shows. I think Impact has finally kind of started to find their way again. I think they're getting there. And yeah, I all of that is great. And then Ring of Honor is a place that has always been on the radar. Again, went to a few house shows back in the day as a fan. Guys like Chris Hero, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, all huge influences on me. Hero probably being like the main independent influence, which I'm sure is not a shock if you've ever seen me wrestle. So that Ring of Honor, New Japan, and that affiliation that New Japan seems to have, all of that is very, very appealing.
We're gonna see you. It's not if, it's when. We're gonna see you on those stages. Where it might be, time will tell. We're just gonna have to follow Mr. Youngblood and see where that goes. Now, I wore this shirt specifically, having Mr. Youngblood on here. Obviously, it's an NEW shirt.
That's an OG NEW shirt.
It is an OG. I am so glad you picked up on that. I do not want to take this off, because if there's anything that yourself and whoever is watching this episode, you don't want to see what's under this shirt. This package, you don't want to see this package. So I wanted to discuss this shirt a little bit, because I knew that you came in as an NEW fan in the mid 2000s. Now, this shirt specifically is from 2006. Just missed you by a minute. 2006, Terryville High School, which I'm really not that far down the road from where I live now.
Nice.
And the main event is not what I want to speak of, but I'm going to mention. The main event was the Dudley Boys against the Outcast Killers, with Big Daddy, the Guardian of Chaos himself. Now that's a character. The Guardian is one character. I've seen him regularly at Paradise Alley, and that guy is something to behold. But my goodness, what a heart that guy has. Holy cow. But that was not my point. my point being is Xavier was the then champion. Okay. Now, he was in this banger, Keith. It was Xavier as the champion going against, we're talking 2006 now, going against a very young AJ Styles and a very young Jay Lethal in a triple threat ladder. Damn, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this shit.
It's awesome, man.
In a triple threat ladder match for the Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. And my man, I will never forget those two matches specifically, and Sergeant Slaughter, because we did get to see him and he had that beautiful chin with him. He did not leave it home, which was very cool. But man, those two matches really stick out for me. But the AJ Styles really a little bit more, because during intermission, I bring my daughter. She wanted to go see Team 3D so bad. And she was like maybe, I don't know, 8 years old, 7 years old, or somewhere around there. And AJ Styles was there with his setup, and he's like, "Would you like an 8x10 glossy?" And she's like, "Absolutely." She had no clue who the hell he was, but he was just charming, had charisma. He's a good looker. And again, he's a young AJ Styles. So that was a really cool moment. But yeah, I just wanted to speak upon this because we were speaking of memories. And I know you're a guy that leaves wrestling with memories, whether you're a fan or whether you're a wrestler, because I know you take those home with you after the event as a wrestler. But Northeast Wrestling, and this is the point, the long point I'm making.
Please.
As a Northeast Wrestling fan, 2007, and I know you've spoken about this on different interviews, being able to get to the other side of the guardrail, become one of their mainstays, their superstars, because, again, we've talked about the grandeur with the fans when you come out, the big pop, if you will. That, my friend, going full circle, and you've spoken about this, but this is what I want from you out of this story here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of young talent coming up on the scene. As a guy who's come up through what you've done as a fan, gone over the guardrail, become what you are now, going in this big heated storyline of a battle with Dan Moff, what would you give an athlete, a new student that's coming in? Because there's some really kick-ass schools around in our area. I'm from Connecticut. So what advice, going from a fan to Northeast Wrestling, getting your oats about you, now you're right at the cusp of grabbing the biggest prize of Northeast Wrestling. Talk to the younger students that are coming up, please.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very, very far away when you start. And you can be as dedicated and as confident as anybody, and you will still hit up against walls within yourself where you know that you were made for this. I think that was the biggest thing for me, where professional wrestling is why I'm here. This is what I am supposed to be doing. And that thought has driven me past those walls where you are going to hit up against what feels like a limit, and you need to go beyond that limit. You need to push through that limit, and you need to continue if it is what you feel you're here to do. And that passion is real, and that fire is real, and this is what you're going to do. You just have to keep going after it. You're going to hit those roadblocks just like anything in life. You find a way over, around, or through it, whatever you got to do. And you just keep pushing. And it's, if you are fresh, you are starting, find an accredited school. Find a place that is not just going to take your money. Go somewhere where the head trainer is someone who is or has done it on a large televised level and has been successful doing it. If they've done it, they have a better chance to teach you. And make sure you're in a safe environment where you are going to learn properly. With that being said, get your feet under you, And like I said, man, just keep after it. I know it sounds very cliche, but like you said, I'm all about heart. It's what I've always been about, and I'm very, very passionate about what I do. And that passion has been what has driven me to this point. Is just not taking no for an answer. Work your butt off, you know, and things will come.
That's a very fine message. I appreciate that right there. I think I'm going to clip it later on and use that. I love what you just said right there. If you could, though, could I just pick your brain for a minute to dive a little further into this? If you could suggest one or maybe two credible schools, safe schools that won't take your money, that will give a young guy or a young girl wanting to be a wrestler, is there a couple schools that you could maybe suggest?
Yeah, so I've been out of the fresh student looking for a place. That hasn't been where my mind's been at in a very long time. So I'm sure some places have maybe popped up that are good that I'm not aware of. There may have been places that were at a certain level where maybe something changed. So this is not gospel. This is just kind of what I remember of the wrestling school scene. Please do your own research and make sure that still holds up. The Wrestling Kingdom at the XWA Event Center was the head trainer was Matt Taven, Vinny Marcellia, all them stuff. I'm not sure who's still there and who isn't with coming and going. Do you know?
Vinny is the head trainer now.
Vinny is the head trainer. Okay, that's what I assumed, but I didn't know for sure. Vinny Marcellia is brilliant in what he does. And if you have the opportunity to go and train there, do it. They will take care of you. They will teach you the right way. That is a very, very good place to be. So that is definitely a school I would recommend. Paul Roma has a wonderful understanding of the basics. I think he does a really good job of getting people's feet wet, getting them to understand format, structure, the very nitty gritty stuff that some people miss is the stuff that he's going to really hone in on. And I think it's also important to remind people, don't only learn at one place. Everybody has different experiences and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. So go somewhere and learn what you can, be open-minded, and continue to look to learn. So yeah, those are the first two that come to mind. I trained at the Northeast Wrestling School, which no longer runs. That affiliation is not there. I know we had done stuff with XWA. So yeah, like I said, and the Chaotic Academy over there. They have continuously pumped out talent who has gone on to television countless times. They have that long lineage to Killer Kowalski. So that's definitely another place to go check out. I went and looked at them back when I started, but that was years ago now. So I'm sure things have changed, but everything I've seen from them still looks like they train the right way. So like I said, do your own research and make sure. But yeah, those are a few places off the top of my head.
Well, I appreciate that, because when you first starting off doing anything, you might find 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 directions to go, but you just don't know where to go or whatever. So I was just kind of maybe giving just a smidge of guidance, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I can help anybody feel more comfortable with a large decision like that, I'm happy to try to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now I could yammer for days, probably, maybe weeks. So I don't want I don't want to do that to Mr. Youngblood. So I want to kind of bring it down to a tail end here. What I like to do, if I could, I like to get road stories. Look at his face. Now, as long as it's clean enough, legal enough, we like to pull fun road stories. And I know there's got to be something that pops into your mind that you've been down the road, up the roads, with either just yourself or with your peers or with just Evans or no matter the combination. What comes to mind for a road story?
You know, I've been asked this a few times,
Oh,
and not a ton here or there. It's a great question. I am a very laid back person. I'm pretty chill. Like I said, I like to have a good time. I like to enjoy myself. I don't get into anything too crazy. So I may not have the same kind of ribbing, crazy, road stories that you may have heard in the past. This may seem a little boring. But I think overall, less than a specific story, the early on in the adrenaline rush days of driving literally everywhere to just get in a ring and do this thing. It was something that Dan had done in the past and he had taken a bit of a break from, and he came back to at the same time that I started. That's how he and I met. He was getting back into wrestling. I was starting wrestling. And when we met at the school, we kind of hit that, we butted heads at first, but we kind of quickly understood that it was because we were pushing each other to get better. So it felt like competition, but we kind of realized that we were actually what was best for each other. And that's what blossomed into what became a friendship and a tag team. And I think those early adrenaline rush days of doing, 4-hour drives to a VFW and wrestling in front of 5 people, the stuff, I couldn't tell you specifically, any one specific story, but it's that overall, breaking down and changing a flat tire on the on-ramp of a highway in the pouring rain at 2 a.m. It's that kind of stuff. Eating, Cumberland Farms pizza at 3 a.m. as our dinner because it was the first chance we got to eat. That's gonna hit the spot. But hey, I gotta say, if you are stuck, Cumberland Farms is the way to go. If you can hit one around here. But maybe the best one that I could think of. Here, okay, I'm sorry. I gave you a runaround. This is actually a pretty good story I can give you.
That's quite all right.
We were coming back from a show, Dan and I. It was very, very late. We pulled into a Cumberland Farms. We didn't know the area very well. It was a smaller Cumberland, but we saw the Cumberland Farms sign, and it was like a saving grace because we knew lukewarm pizza, maybe a hot dog, please. So we pulled in. We got out. It was cold. It was sometime in the winter months, and we started walking towards the door. And I don't know what it was. There was a guy 20 or 30 feet away from us walking towards us from the opposite direction. Something triggered, flipped, and I looked up and I saw the guy from far away, and I just got this feeling. And I kind of slowed my pace down, and I saw him pick his pace up. So I turned at the front door instead of going in. And I just made like a gesture like I was throwing something in a trash can, just so I had a reason to stop. And I pretended to throw something out, and I put my hand on Dan's chest, and I stopped him from going around me to go in. I said, just hold on. This dude is like power walking with his head down. He's got his jacket on. He goes in the front door. He walks up to the counter, and he pulls out a gun. I don't know why I had this feeling, where it came from, and all in this split second, there's like all of these different things firing off in my head. And the first one is, I'm behind him. Let's bring this dude down. Thank God, before that thought went through, I remembered it's a very small gas station. This dude does not want anybody to get hurt. He's looking for a quick cash grab, and he's going to blow. He's not going to pull the trigger here. And I just grabbed Dan. Let's go back to the car. The dude ducked out. He was in and out by the time we got to the car, pretty much. Mm-hmm. There was a couple in the car next to us. I said, get out of here. Go. There's somebody holding up the joint. They took off. We took off. But yeah, I'm really, we called the police and gave a description of the guy and where it was. But, it was something, it was crazy. I don't know how I knew. I'm glad I did. you know, God was looking after us and everybody. And I think it was something that really pissed me off too. You know, this girl who's working this counter at Cumberland Farms at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, she's probably in high school. She's making no money, and now she's getting a gun pointed in her face. And it was so messed up. And it was something that, you know, looking back on now, I'm just really, really glad I didn't make that move. And I know it might sound silly because it's like, well, you would want to make the move to stop the guy. And that was my initial thought. Let's stop this dude from doing what he's doing so nobody gets hurt. If I come up and grab that guy from behind and I spook him, that's gonna change things. So I'm so grateful that, you know, God not only gave me that moment of clarity of, well, hold up, let's wait. And then again, it's going to be a quick cash grab and this dude's going to be out of here. And it's Cumberland Farms at 2 a.m. He's getting out of here with like $100 and that money's insured. So as long as that girl at the counter is all right, that's all that mattered. And I'm glad I made the choice I did. But there you go. There's a road story. Cumberland Farms getting held up, and all we wanted was some cold pizza.
I can't say that I've ever heard a hold-up story on stirring a pot, a first ever. Thankfully, everybody made it okay. And like you said, you could have escalated that situation so much by, hey, dude, blah, 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 you know, or whatever. That could have changed everything. Thank you for that. That.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, that is definitely not where I thought it was going to go, from Cumberland Farms pizza to a holdup. That was actually.
Yeah, not where we thought it was going to go either. We were hoping that there was at least one slice of pepperoni left to fight over. Right? That was our biggest worry when we got there and we pulled in. So.
Keith, this has been an amazing. An hour. Boys and girls, he stomached me for an hour, 16 minutes. I am so honored. I thought it was going to be like 15. I thought it was going to be like 15 minutes. I got to get out of here.
That's a blast.
I really appreciate your time. You've shared so much with us. Everything from the story that we just heard to a message to the young talent, your transition as a singles competitor. This was just a fantastic hour plus. And I cannot thank you enough for your time. This was really cool.
Absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for taking the time to do this stuff, especially right now. I think, like you said, you know, there are a multitude of fans who are kind of jumping in and doing similar things. And you've been doing this for a long time. And I'm glad you found a way to continue to do it. I think now more than ever, it's really important. It gives the wrestlers a chance to, you know, stay fresh and involved with the audience and connected with the audience. It gives the audience fresh content to be checking in on and kind of getting their fix that way. So, I mean, you know, doing stuff like Joey G's deal and your thing. And, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, doing the Observer and all that stuff. It's been a really cool way to stay in touch with everybody. So thank you for taking the time to do it. And thank you for having me on.
I appreciate those kind words. You said fresh content. I'm going to pull those two words out because while we've been down, a lot of the wrestlers, they haven't been putting stuff out because there's no new stuff to put out. But then some wrestlers have been taking some old stuff and trying to share that. And, you know, and I know you can only share so many arm drags from 2016 or a drop kick from 2017. And I get that. But those two words, fresh content, that's why I always wanted to try to, I may take breaks, but I always wanted to try to keep going for that purpose right there. Just for fresh content. I mean, we all need something to do, and I do wrestling. So, I mean, why not?
There you go, man. And like I said, we appreciate it too. Cause like, you know, it's like you said, there's only so much you can reshare and so much you can do on your own. I'm out there with a tripod and, you know, I've been locked down tight for this whole thing. So it's been, you know, very, what can I do on my own here to keep people entertained and give them something to do. So yeah, thank you.
Well, we're going to keep them engaged for about an hour and 20 because we had a fine conversation with one Keith Youngblood. But before I let you go and do my outro, I would like to ask you, please tell us, the fans, how we can find you on the old medias. You knew that was coming.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. You can find me at RB_Youngblood on Instagram. You can find me at Youngblood_RB on Twitter. You just search up Keith Youngblood on Facebook. You'll find me there too. And if you are in a position to do so, please head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Keith Youngblood. Pick yourself up some dope threads. It means the world to me.
You have practiced that, haven't you?
I've done it a time or two.
It sounded fabulous, I gotta say. A great pitch from one Keith Youngblood. Oh man, this has been great. Lots of laughs, stories, all sorts of information. This has been fantastic. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, the rare breed, Keith Youngblood. Thank you, my man.
Thank you. It was nothing but a good time.
Yeah.